Welcome back to the County Seat. Our topic today has been sage grouse, an edict or a command from U.S. Fish and Wildlife that the habitat has to be protected and the species managed before it falls under an endangered species, and the attempts that we're making to prevent that from happening here in the state of Utah. We've been discussing about the sage grouse, but one thing that we wanted to point out is that this isn't just all about sage grouse habitat on BLM public land. Actually, the BLM's holdings of sage grouse habitat are really the smaller number. Could you fill us in on that, Verlin, just a little bit?
Yeah, Utah is a good example on how partnership effort is needed in a process like this. BLM, ownership-wise in sage grouse habitat, manages about 34% of the sage grouse habitat. Private is surprisingly about 37%, and the Forest Service about 11%, and the state is about 9%. So that shows you if we're going to be successful, we've got to work together.
And again, if we're going to prevent an endangered species listing, then these groups need to start being proactive. But apparently the state's taking that very seriously, have they not, John?
The state is taking this very seriously. Governor Herbert has asked the Department of Natural Resources to convene a working group, which is in the process of being put together. And that working group will address how to deal with habitat protection on state and private lands, and then we'll also work to coordinate with the Fish and Wildlife Service and the BLM to make sure that everyone is acting consistently across all types of land.
So, you know, there might be some people listening to this and say, okay, well, the state's taking off on their own to come up with a plan, and the BLM's scoping a plan right now, and you know, we're going to have this competing battle between the state and the BLM. Do you see it that way?
I don't, because we've been working very close with the state for a long time on this. In fact, in the last several months, we've had several meetings with the state and to coordinate what they're doing and what they need to do, because they have better working abilities with the private landowners, for example, than we do. So it's been a cooperative effort up to this point, and we're hope that will continue through this whole process.
So basically you're saying a gold-colored truck with a little star is better received than a white one with a green stripe on it?
That's right. Keep it going that way.
Mike, how important is a partnership from your perspective?
Well, it's very important, and I go back to this $36 million that's been raised. A lot of that money is, you know, it's the Elk Foundation and the different groups, oil and gas, and a number of groups have come together in the federal agencies and CETLA, and everybody working together. That money is pooled, and there's a lot of really good projects, and in fact, these different regions in the state meet, projects are looked at, they're reviewed, and then an opportunity to look at those highest priority projects and be able to make some real meaningful difference on the ground. And so this is what I was mentioning to begin with. In Utah, we've been very proactive. There's a lot of really good things that's been going on, and I see that to be able to continue.
Okay, we got about a minute and a half left, and so from this end of the table, there's a tendency for people to look at managing, you know, go through the scoping process, managing sage grouse, and that they think that the only response to that, or the only action that can be taken, is just a hands-off, you know, lock up the acres, put the gates across, and just leave it alone. But there are other activities that still are competing to be used on that land. Is there some middle ground in between where we can, you know, talk about habitat or improving habitat or modifying it so that we can get that best, highest, and multiple use out of the lands that are being considered?
Sure, and I mean that's all part of this planning process that we'll be going through, looking at the different resources that may be affected by this action with sage grouse. You know, how it affects grazing, how it affects minerals. But you know, alternatives that we will address will be, you know, how can we look at these and how can we do a better job? You know, we need to maintain our sage grouse populations on the ground where we have them still, if we can, and how can we fit in, you know, the uses that need to continue to occur there.
Great.
Hands-off may be exactly the wrong approach. Again, in Parker Mountain in southern Utah, there has been a lot of vegetation management that has increased habitat for the grouse that are there. So just leaving things alone may really not be the right thing to do. And then when there is development, there are possibilities for mitigating. Commissioner McKee mentioned eliminating pinyon juniper and bringing back sagebrush communities over time. Those are the sorts of things that can be done.
We'd like to talk about kind of a rolling management concept for the last few minutes we have in our last segment. We'll be right back with the county seat. Our topic today has been sage grouse and the management of sage grouse here in the state of Utah, and we will be back after this commercial break.
You see a snapshot and you wish you could make it real. You glance at a calendar and imagine you could step inside. You see adventure and long to join in. In Kane County, Utah, there's nothing to hold you back. Land, water, air, from the Red Rocks to the top of the world. A motorized adventure to the style of the Old West. Experience the true meaning of freedom. Kane County, Utah. Come play in our backyard.
Almost 45% of the oil produced in Utah, 7.8 million barrels, comes from Duchesne County. That oil feeds our state economy, provides job growth, and supports local business. Here in Duchesne County, we're working to make Utah an economic, cultural, and technological leader. Whether you're here for business or pleasure, Duchesne County will welcome you with open arms and invite you to explore all the beauty of the Uinta Mountains. Duchesne County, close enough for business, far enough to get away.
How would you spend an extra day in Utah Valley? Stay one more day. Visit utahvalley.com to make reservations. Utah Valley. Bring everyone together.
The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration. SITLA manages 3.5 million acres in Utah lands with the express purpose of furthering the education of Utah students while promoting local industry, oil and gas, even residential development, all at the same time. Through the careful use of trust lands, we distributed more than $22 million to Utah schools last year. The State of Utah School and Institutional Trust Lands Administration, building the state's permanent school fund.